Welcome everyone to the Multipeak Marketing Podcast. Today's guest, we have the one, the only Tracy Martin.
That's a good intro. I like it.
All right. In case anyone doesn't know her already, Tracy, just tell us a little bit about how you became involved in the ortho industry and later finding and founding, Straight Consulting.
Yeah. So I've been in the ortho world for about 17-ish years.
Oh, goodness.
I know you can't tell. I, definitely see a doctor for those things. But yeah, I've been in ortho since I graduated from high school. It is the industry I always knew that I was going to go into ever since I was a braces patient myself at the age of 12, 13, 14. So loved it. Those that are in ortho can absolutely relate to it's this positive sound of the hemostat that drew me to it. And the root beer impressions were definitely another big win. So I knew I wanted to go into ortho. As soon as I graduated high school, I went into dental assisting school and then entered the ortho practices as a sterile tech, as a ortho assistant, as a lead ortho assistant, and held every position in between up to practice consultant, in-house practice consultant before I actually started my own consulting company. But I'd say that the niche that I found myself, or what doctors saw probably as my greatest strength as an auxiliary in ortho was the sales and marketing side, and operations as well, and being able to look at things from a macro and a micro perspective. So I was a TC for a number of years, and that is where we have really tried to build our business around, is with the TC coaching and with our mastery courses, and helping practices of all shapes and sizes, and now DSOs and OSOs develop their treatment coordinators and learn how to sell more orthodontics in our millennial world.
That's super. So you've just basically worn all the hats anyone can think of in ortho.
Yes. And I mean, I can jump in the chair right now and spin a permanent retainer, no problem. I mean, I wear scrubs, honestly, when I go into a lot of the offices now. I find wearing a pair of figs and a blazer my jam. So I'm happy to pull my hair up and jump in the chair real fast if we start falling behind in the schedule, whatever we need. I'm a utility player.
Yeah. So what kind of services do you mainly offer, and what are some side services that a lot of doctors are looking for in their practice?
Oh, sure. As far as straight consulting goes, we offer in-office consulting. Again, it's typically centered around new patient onboarding systems, scripting, TC coaching, developing systems around time management and responsibilities of each position within the practice, figuring out ways to be more efficient. I'm a black belt in template design, scheduling template designs. It's like my matrix, my Tetris projects that I like to do. But we do also a lot of offsite. We've mastered Zoom at this point, so we do. I find more and more of our engagements being a mixture of in-office consulting and then support and follow up, and honestly accountability here via Zoom. But you'll see us all over conference season. Here we go. I'll be speaking at Pearls. I'll be speaking at Orthopreneurs. I can't wait to see everybody in person. It's going to be awesome. But some of our side services are also, and I'll plug it right now, our TC Mastery course and our Marketing Mastery course, which is coming up in November. And in that, we definitely dive into all the things that I think the practices need to know, and I need a whole weekend to go through it all. Yep. So, and it's kind of fun to go somewhere fun like Margaritaville. So,
yeah. So you can cut classes short, and everyone can dip their toes in the sand, right?
1,000%, 1,000%. We all need sunshine.
Yeah, and so this is the Margaritaville event. When is this? This is in November, right?
Yes, it's the first weekend in November, and it's filling up really fast. So, which is hard to believe because with the what I call the ortho summer slammage,
Yeah.
this is our busy season, right before kids go back to school, and luckily we're starting to see the beginnings of that end as kids are just now starting to go back to school. But each state is different. But yeah, that has been our busy season. So to have a fun goal at the end of that, where we could all take our team and get a ton out of it, as far as marketing ideas go and how-tos and budgeting and all those things that we don't necessarily know. We don't know what we don't know. And we can, of course, talk a lot about that kind of stuff on this podcast, but then we also wrap it up with our TC Mastery course. So not only are we looking at how we open up the floodgates to new patients to get that traffic into the practice, but then once they come in, how do we convert those guys? So just working on 2021, 2022 type skill sets that not everybody has.
Right. And so, docs, teams, office managers, they can all come, right?
They can all come to Marketing Mastery.
Okay.
Everyone can come to Marketing Mastery, but only TCs can stay the additional day to come to TC Mastery course. It's only for the unicorns.
Right.
Not that everybody isn't a unicorn. Sorry, I shouldn't say it that way. But TCs have to it's an emotional role. So we like to keep that just for the TC so they can really flush out some of their strains.
Right. So docs that are listening, come and treat your TCs and your team by coming to, TC Mastery and Marketing Mastery. It's in Hollywood Beach, right? Hollywood Beach Resort.
Yeah, Hollywood, Florida. Yep.
Awesome. So
at the Margaritaville Resort. So
Margaritaville Resort. Perfect.
Yes.
So what are the other events that you're emceeing at? One
Mother of Pearls, yeah. So I'm the MC of the team track at Mother of Pearls, and I'll be a speaker as well. And that I'm going to be speaking on straight edutainment. So kind of like that mixture as especially as a TC, but we do it all, even in the clinic and all around the practice, even in the front desk, where we are educating people, but we're also entertaining them. So getting that mixture and figuring out why do we do that and how do we do that and what attracts more millennial moms. And so I'm kind of tying all that in and working on that slide deck as we speak. And then after that is Orthopreneurs, which will also be epic. And I'm speaking on the doctor track and the team track there. So working on those. That's a little bit more on leadership and developing a customer-centric or customer-focused team. So really like working on that together as a group and making that our primary focus and designing our systems that way.
Right. So really you're just focusing on like the systemizing everything and automating processes to make them easier.
Well, and more of shifting our focus on the being results driven and focusing our processes on making the customer experience unlike anywhere else and seeing how that will reap further rewards than us designing our processes around what works best for our practice and our team. So a lot of policies go out the window and we design new ones for the new demographic.
Right. And since we're kind of on the topic of like speaking about events, there is one big one, right? One big one next year. Tell us about that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about, Tyler? Yes, there is. So I am going to put on my first giant conference ever.
Ooh.
I'm a little nervous to say it out loud. But yes, so MKS, if you're familiar with it, has changed hands a few times, and it has now changed to some new hands, and has now been rebranded and rebirthed as Orthodontic Evolution. And so this will be at the end of conference season. So I would expect that a lot of our attendees will have come to Pearls or OPS and then would also come to this as well. It is in February 17th, I believe is the date. But if you go to ortho-evolution.com, you can get all the details there. But it's flashy. I'm going to call it that. I'm going to call it flashy. I think it's I think it's pretty big. I think it's pretty awesome. What's different about it is that it is completely consultant designed. So I've partnered up with my consultant buddies, Dina Watt, Michelle Shimon, Jill Allen, freaking
rock star.
Say bad words, but I was going to say like these people are awesome. And we have crushed minds together and developed a program for practices that really go through the entire life cycle of a patient and kind of the operations within the practice. So it'll start with like lead generation and new patient onboarding, but it'll cycle all the way through into clinical efficiencies, digital workflows, into retention and into practice advocacy. And it won't just be the four of us as speakers either. It will be all consultants, and it will be all the people that and it'll be their super strengths all brought together in one giant conference. Yeah, it's going to be, if you don't walk away from that conference with just lists and lists of ways to implement things, you cannot be helped. That's literally my advice to you. Like, your practice can't be helped at that point. The whole point behind it, or why I chose to make it completely consultant driven and consultant designed, is because consultants have hundreds of practices, depending upon the consultant, right? They have multiple practices to pull data points off of. So we know what works in Seattle sometimes will work in my Arkansas office, or all over. My New York's got something on my Dallas one, and blah blah blah. And you've got far more data points to go off of, and ways of doing things. So not only are we as consultants going to map out for these practices what we think that they need to know in 2021 and 2022 and 2023 and get you going, but we're also gonna role play it out. We're also gonna show them how to implement it. Like that was the number one thing that one of my first clients as a consultant said, consultants are awesome, but it's implementation that seems to be the troublesome spot. So I wanted this conference to be designed to help with that. And I would like to have, this is on my wish list. Let's hope that it actually happens. And it's in the works. So I try to always get what I want. We'll see. But I'm trying to get a set actually for the conference it's like donated by one of our suppliers to have a mock front desk and have a mock clinic, so that way as consultants we can really role play out what we're telling these teams to do or telling these doctors to do. So
you have your own role play. You got your own role play going. Yeah,
it's going to be consultant theater. It should be fun.
That's awesome.
So we'll see what happens.
That's awesome. So like with Ortho Evolution, like the turning point on that is really to evolve practices towards this new progressive. Okay.
Yeah. Be progressive to really plan for the future, but to show them how to. Like we've all talked about the things that need to happen, but we don't necessarily understand what's step 1, step 2, step 3. How do I implement this idea into my practice? So we'll help with that.
All right. So switching gears, what is the biggest headache you've seen doctors struggle with when it does come to the marketing aspect?
Oh, biggest headache is it just goes back to not knowing where to start, where to begin, right? They as far as like so many things come to mind. Finding the right companies to work with, knowing what to outsource and what to do internally, knowing what kind of budgets to plan for any of those things. What's got the biggest ROI? And not everything has ROI. Let me be the first one to tell you that. Sometimes it's just about putting the goodwill out and building the brand name. And that will come back to reward you greatly, but it's about the long game in that sense. Paralysis by analysis, right? Like getting all this great information, but not knowing where to start with it. Definitely not wanting, as far as doctors go, not wanting any of that to end up on their plate, which is fair because they need to be, that's not their highest best use. So they need to be looking at faces, not, not the marketing stuff. But they do need to have that traffic coming in. So make sure that we're not wasting money on dumb things. So,
Right. So like when you talk about outsourcing, what do you mean by outsourcing?
So outsourcing with companies like Multipeak Marketing or other digital marketing companies, but digital marketing companies are necessary in practices today for sure. Like if you don't have one, then I promise you your marketing does not look amazing. I promise, like that's for sure. Like you can't be practicing in 2021 and not have a digital marketing partner.
Right. Because
We just didn't
everyone,
even go to school for that. We don't know these things.
right. Because in terms of marketing, like from what I've seen, like for example, Facebook ads, everyone has their heads buried in their phone on social media. So what, do you think, going with Google ads, Facebook ads, what have you kind of seen doctors go to the most with in terms of what services I should be using?
Oh, good question. Okay, so I do see them doing Google ads.
Mhm.
But I think that most of them don't know what they're doing with it, right? They may be paying somebody to take care of it, but they don't necessarily understand the reports that they're getting. They don't understand if it's really effective or not. So it's kind of a like gray, kind of almost little taboo area, I would say. Facebook ads, I think that it's a little bit more straightforward and they can understand that a little bit better. And in many cases, even do them themselves if they have the right team members internally. So that is something that I could see them do internally, but I don't think that they can get up and going and get started with them on their own. I think that I think they're far more effective if they partner with a digital marketing company to get started on it and then maybe maintain it thereafter with someone within. But that takes some coaching and that takes it takes the right person as well.
Right. So let's talk about marketing coordinators. Would it be, the right move to have a marketing coordinator in your practice? Maybe not necessarily starting out, but once you reach to a certain size.
Yes. So I would say a marketing coordinator is necessary. In many of the practices, it starts out as the TC or it starts out as one of the admin team members, and that's kind of like his or her side job. We have to do what we have to do when we're in startup mode. So, we're hungry, we're starving, and we don't have all the bodies. So we're happy to wear multiple hats, and that's fine and great. What I like to do is work with those practices on conversion and sales and stuff, and hurry up and get us earn us a body to now have somebody who is dedicated to the marketing, because in this day and age, like marketing is far more important than it has ever been. Right. And I'm in enough practices to be able to say that with a sense of there are still lots of practices in the United States that don't have a marketing coordinator, that don't spend much money on their marketing, who don't see the value in it, and who only care about spending money on things that have high ROI in their opinion, and have terrible websites, who are not doing target advertisements at all. They're just missing out. They're really not doing themselves a favor, in my opinion.
Right. So what would be the benefits of, instead of going traditional marketing and having dentist referrals and everything, why would doctors see the benefits and potential in having a digital marketing strategy and having different services instead of using something, let's say like a billboard?
Oh, that's a good question. So you're going to reach a lot more people with digital marketing, a lot more people. You can also dial in who's looking at these things versus everybody who's not necessarily interested in orthodontics, who's not necessarily a candidate at all for it, or like you're just showing it to buyers that aren't looking to buy. That seems like a waste of money to me. Whereas with digital marketing, we can dial this in, and we can get real crazy with how well we can dial it in, and what messaging we want to give specific people that will help urge them over the finish line.
Right.
There's so
Getting
many
data.
strategies that we can do. What?
Getting data and everything with.
Oh, and collecting the data, and then like slow drip. Like there's so many fun things that can happen now. Yeah, that's and the other part of it is that our demographic now are millennials, and millennials spend at minimum 2 hours a day on their smartphones. So if you know for sure that they're going to be looking at their smartphone, why wouldn't you design everything about your practice to look amazing on that smartphone? Yeah. Whether it's the website, whether it's advertisements that I'm sending you, whether it's emails that I'm sending you, text messages that I'm sending you, whatever I want to send you. But like, there's no way that like you had time to go to orthodontic school to become an orthodontist and became a total black belt in digital marketing at the same time. So
like you only went there just to, provide treatment. You didn't learn the skills. And that's kind of like what you offer. You offer those other services to help them out, help them know what you need to be doing and implementing in your practice.
It's highest best use, right? Doctors there to align teeth and to save lives with smiles and happiness and confidence and self-esteem. And we're here to help with boosting sales and converting new patients. And you're here to open up the traffic and to open up the faucet and get bodies in the door so that I can help convert them.
Right. Yeah. Getting more eyeballs on the practice, on the name, the logo, the website. And, I think digital marketing is one of the cheapest forms of marketing.
It's the smartest. It's the strategies behind it. You have far more control in it than I think people actually give it credit for. And I think that if I'm being totally honest, it's because we just don't know and understand it completely. And then there's these like really smart people like you coming out of school, super young and super smart, who like are just natives to this, that get it like it's a different language to us. Right. And so the more we can interact with partnerships like you that take the time to explain how this stuff works. I mean, for anybody watching this, if you guys haven't seen it already, on my Facebook page, on Straight Consulting page, Tyler goes through a great video on Facebook ads 101 and how to do them yourselves. But they need that content. They need somebody to spend the time to record a whole video and edit it and make it like super easy for them to understand. Okay, I click this, then I go here, then I add this, then I gotta make a graphic. Okay. But without those kinds of resources, us in the ortho practice world, that's a area that we just aren't sure of. And then when we get these reports from our digital marketing companies that have these pretty graphs on them, they're fun and dandy, but I don't necessarily understand it completely. And I hear that more often than not.
Right. So like for me, what I hear a lot about is everyone just likes it simple and laid out. They don't want to hear very technical terms. Like in the video that I did make, it was more about just breaking things down into basic, simple terms so they understand it better. The reason being because you've probably even researched it, but there's really no one that can really explain it into great detail and understand the basics, especially for beginners, if they're just, looking to see what it's about and how to get involved with it.
Mm-hmm. And to see if they can do it, really. It's like, and to see how hard it is, and to see if, oh my gosh, if this is so time consuming, no, I'd rather outsource it, or, but it feels like you're kind of like taking down that veil of confusion. And it's, I think what you're doing is great. So
thank you. I think what you're doing is great.
No, you're the best. No, you're the best.
You mentioned, websites and some branding stuff. So can you tell me a little bit more? I know that you were covering some stuff like in your in the marketing mastery, you were covering a little bit on the branding and the marketing side of things. Like what should practices have for the website? Should it be modern? Should it be super colorful? Should it be professional and boring? Like what should it look like?
Definitely not professional and boring, but professional. So I think that the website should reflect you as a person and your practice's culture, and it should be totally different from anybody else's. It's like it's like your Facebook page. It's unique to you. It's a composite of so much of you into that. So it should reflect your style, and it should definitely have colors that you love and enjoy. I don't necessarily think khaki is the best, or like brown tones may not work for everybody, but it does work really well for some. So and accent colors are amazing. So there's the sky's the limit, I think, as far as that goes. I do think modern logos are important. You can easily just Google like what kind of logos are millennials attracted to. There's, you can find out lots of cool stuff. And if you haven't refreshed your logo in a long time, then the answer is you need to now. Mm-hmm. So go ahead and definitely do that. My biggest like nugget or tip for anyone who hasn't redesigned their logo in the last 5 years is, I think you probably need to redesign your logo. I mean, sorry, your website. You definitely need your logo, but your website needs to be refreshed. It needs at least a little bit of a facelift, just a little cosmetic surgery. But the most important thing is that it needs to have the content on it that millennials are looking for, and what buyers are looking for. And your buyers right now are millennials. They're not Gen X anymore. They're not certainly baby boomers. So, everything that people were attracted to 10, 15 years ago is not what we're attracted to anymore. It's a totally different generation that has been exposed to totally different things and are attracted to totally different things. So what they're looking for is everything that you want them to know. Anything that they learn in a new patient exam should be on your website. So what all different modalities do you offer? You have clear aligners. Where do they come from? How are they made? You have brackets. What kind of bracket systems do you have? Are they lingual? Are they buccal? Who makes those? How do you get those? How do they go on? Does it hurt? How long does the process take? How much does it cost? I would put the price on your website. I think you should be totally transparent. Anything and everything every question you get asked in a new patient exam should be on your website, because millennials do their pre-search. It's the research before they commit to your practice. And so getting them that information as early in their buying process as possible, the more likely they are to convert and when they come into your practice, right, and be a same day start. So I think getting that early.
Yeah. I was gonna kind of follow up a little bit on what millennials are looking for. So you mentioned that they're gonna kind of rant and look over your website. What about their Facebook page and their Instagram? Like, what are reviews? Reviews, yeah. What do you think? What do you see that they are looking for the most?
So on your website, they look at your homepage. That's got to be like the creme de la creme. So it's got to have a ton of information on it. Then the next thing that they're looking at is the doctor's picture. So doctors, make sure that your mouth is like slightly open in your photos, because then it looks like you're laughing, and that makes people think that you're pretty cool. And so that's the next thing. And then they also look at the team pictures too. So anything fun and kooky you can do with that would stand out compared to others is important. But then they are going to look at your Facebook page to see how engaged you are in the community, how well developed that is. That tells us how like old school, new school, like how much we will relate to you, if that makes sense. And then most of all, they are going to read those reviews. There's no doubt in my mind that they are going to look at your website and do the pre-search before they come into your practice They're not just going to blindly walk in there. And there's no doubt in my mind that they're going to read your reviews, at least some of them, just because they need crowdsourcing and peer affirmation. And so the reviews do that for them. So they trust the reviews far more than anything you're going to say to them.
Perfect. I was looking at I think it's like 80 or 90%, something crazy. People trust that more, kind of just as almost as like an in-person word of mouth kind of thing. Like they're trusting reviews. Like if you look on, I believe I made a video about this on reviews or something. It was just talking about, people look at your reviews kind of like on Amazon, or if you're shopping for something, people look at the reviews, if it's a 5-star or 4-star, and they trust that. People trust a lot of that stuff.
And they read it. Yeah. And these are strangers, right? Like we don't know the people that left those reviews, but we trust what they said over what the business is going to tell me, because the business has, their own, agenda, if you will, or, they have their own interests.
Right.
So.
And so it's more like they want to see if they're a good fit, if they kind of match their style, their culture. Gotcha.
People want to do business with their friends. So this helps them get a good sense of who you are and what other people think about you. Yeah.
And you talked about like seeing their Facebook page. What do they want to see on their Facebook page? Is it a patient, a doc with a patient? Is it what's going on in the community? Or is it like teeth pictures, like before and after?
I think it honestly needs to be a mixture of all of those. I've always been a subscriber to the idea that your Facebook page should tell millennial moms because that's where we hang out. Tell us what happens around the practice. What's going on? Where are you guys going to be? What are you guys up to? What charities are you involved in? What community events will I see you at? What's been going on? And then, I'd love to also see some before and afters kind of mixed in there. But if your Facebook page is full of braces on and braces off, braces on, braces off, you're boring, and no one's going to stay subscribed to that. Right. We want to see a mixture of who you are and where you're going to be at, what you guys are up to. It's also a great, it should be used as an open line of communication. I should be able to chat with you through it. I should be able to post something and you call me right away. It should be used as an open line of communication and checked throughout the day at the practice. And then Instagram, I use that more with the millennial moms as a way to promote our expertise, honestly, and to geek out on orthodontics. So that's where I'm going to have lots of videos on how braces are put on, or cementing a permanent retainer, or popping off the brackets, or putting on some bite turbos, or it could be anything, you name it, delivering some clear aligners, popping those guys in, or, putting on some attachments, but geeking out on why orthodontics is so neat. It's our science. It should be Bill Nye the Science Guy, kind of an Instagram page.
I like
it shows you an expert.
Yeah. And I believe you can even put those on, having a nice cover as a highlight.
Yes.
Cover. Yes. I think that's a great way. You can also have different things, you can have you geeking out over that. Then you might have one of you being involved in the community, different patient smiles.
Yep. Yeah, I think it'd be wonderful.
Yeah. So I've been hearing a lot of questions on how much should I be putting aside for my marketing budget, outsourcing, should I have a marketing coordinator, but what would be a good amount if I just had one practice to set aside for a budget per month for marketing?
Ooh, good question. So it depends on the consultant. Everybody has a different philosophy. Some people will say 10%. Some people will say 20%, but I have plenty of practices that do 40%. And it also depends on what stage the practice is in, right? In the beginning, we don't have much money, but we need a ton of marketing. Mm-hmm. Once we become more established, we are more established. So maybe we don't need as much marketing, and we have more money. So we kind of are a little different in what campaigns we're picking and choosing to use. And if we're extra established, then it's probably time to rebrand and completely start over like a startup again, honestly.
Right.
Which is hard to do, and I get that. But that is what is needed. So budgeting wise, it's hard to say. I can tell you where the majority of our clients, are. So we work with a spectrum, of course. So I'm just going to go into like the biggest majority is going to be in our, year 3 to year, 15, 20, right? Is where we've kind of built the practice around, before we kind of started branching off into more startups and more DSOs. So there's definitely an even bigger range now, but if that's the biggest pot, right? So somewhere around my 1.5, our average will be our $1.5 million practice. Those guys are going to be closer to your 20-30%. And they are going to be, they definitely need to be spending money on SEO. Okay. So, and I have a hard time finding an SEO company that you're going to be paying, less than probably like $600 a month, somewhere around there, right? For SEO. Then you're going to need to pay for, you got to have target ads. So if you can't do them within your practice, you better be paying somebody to do them, because if you don't have target ads, God help you. I will pray for you. And then, and I'm a big fan of print marketing as well. I'm a fan of target print marketing, especially as we ramp up for summer. And I do like I like to do, it's strategically timed when I'm going to do my print marketing. So let's say that I'm going to send out mailers to targeted neighborhoods that, I'm trying to work. And those are going to be in a strategic campaign process. So I think you should budget for that, but those are less frequent. So
on those mailers, what kind of call to action would you be giving? Like if, say, a graphic design company or someone like me were able to design like a graphic to mail out, what kind of call to action would be on there?
There's definitely going to be a promotion of at least $500 off. Many practices do $1,000 off. Some get even crazier, but you're going to see practices with either $500 or $1,000 off. And call to action is usually, so I usually do those like right before summer. Or I might do it in my really weak months as well. Or if I'm just trying to hurry up and convert over to, an aligner system versus braces, like whatever. It's meant to make sure that I have nailed those months that I'm banking on, or to help in a strategy as far as clinical efficiency and switching over. So modalities. So, so they're not done all throughout the year. They're done typically in like 2 or 3 months, and then 2 or 3 months.
Right. And I've seen even promotions be like AirPods, like if you work with us, you're going to get AirPods.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that so much of what's happening in the US, I was just actually on a Zoom with a Canadian client, and I was just explaining that here in the States, it's a little bit different than it is in Canada. When it comes to marketing, people are seeing a lot more opinions here. And what they're looking for are the perks of working with your practice. It's not necessarily about the doctor anymore. In fact, it's a lot less about working with the doctor. And I hate saying that. I know that sounds awful. This is my industry too. I love it to death. I'm a clinician. Like that's who I am. Like my name was on my scrubs when I, started out. And that was a big deal for me. I had my mom take a picture of me and everything. It's sad where our industry has gone, and the doctor has become more and more faceless. And now just their first name is doctor. That's all it seems to be with the consumer. And in many cases that's not even an important fact, to be honest with you. So for a lot of your consumers or your millennial new patients coming in, or millennial parents, it's about the perks of working with your business. So I think having AirPods on there or showing off some of the swag that you're going to get, any of those kinds of things. It's also a lot about the conveniences. So I would put that onto your marketing, like, always running on time, or, we text message you after every visit to make sure you're up to date on what's happening. I mean, anything like that is important. I would throw that on.
Yeah. So you mentioned, SEO, direct mail. What are some other ones? What are some other good ones?
Community involvement for sure. You've got to be in with the schools. That is a big part of this. So we like to design a lot of campaigns around how to get attention at schools and how to help support the schools. We have to throw some major events and keep our patients engaged and entertained. Being polite and professional will not get you referrals anymore. That's just a given. Like, we expect that at minimum. But what gets patients talking to other patients, or what I like to say is like spreading the word within the tribe about your practice, is about the experiences that they're going to have. And they're looking for family events. They're looking for like free events that they can go to as a family that they can count on, that's being put on by your practice. It's those wow moments. It's about coming alongside their busy lives and making their life a little bit better. And that takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of money. So being very strategic with those things is important. So putting budgets into that. The dentist referrals. Okay, let's hit dentists real fast.
Yeah.
So we all know that there are less and less dental referrals. That's a no-brainer. More and more dentists are doing their own orthodontics now. So how do you keep that going? How do you keep some referrals coming in, and how do you keep them happy? And how do you nurture that relationship in a world where they could easily, drop you or go to somebody new? So in our marketing mastery course, we go through lots of different ideas on that. And it really comes down to personalization. I'll give you a big tip there. It really comes down to nurturing that relationship in a very personal way, because again, people want to do business with their friends. So figuring out ways to really nurture that friendship when you don't have an oral surgeon's budget is important.
All right. Perfect. Is there any other like great nuggets you want to share with anyone before we wrap up?
Any other great nuggets? I don't know. I feel like we really just dumped a lot.
Yeah, there was a
I went
lot
on a
of
rant there, but I feel like that really hits a lot of places, or at least hopefully that gets their gets the marbles turning a little bit.
Yeah.
And I didn't give a bunch of different answers to the questions, but hopefully at least that opens the minds to what is expected now. And it's totally different than it was even 5 years ago.
Oh.
And every year it's going to get different. And I'm sorry, but that is the reality of it. And we're happy to help, and Multipeak Marketing is happy to help. If anybody doesn't know, Tyler in Multipeak Marketing does all of Straight Consulting's marketing. So if you are unaware of that fact, like the Facebook ads that you see, this is done by this guy. I'm super impressed with you guys, and we will continue our partnership for a very, very long time.
Awesome.
So
I love that so much. Well, thank you so much, Tracy, for coming on and just sharing some, incredible value. I'm hoping like everyone's marbles are starting to turn, just learning about so much of this stuff, learning kind of like what to look out for, and really how to evolve, the new trends that are coming along. Guys, check out Straight Consulting. Their website is www.straightconsulting.com. And you can hit Tracy up and her team, and she can definitely help you out with anything, pretty much anything to take your practice to the next level. And go ahead and even just message us on social media if you do have any questions for the podcast. With that being said, I think we're done here. Yeah.
bye.
Bye, guys.